Picture this. You and your partner are pulling in a combined $140,000 a year. You did everything exactly by the script. You got the expensive degrees, you bought the three-bedroom house in the premium school district, and you financed the two reliable late-model SUVs parked in the driveway. By every metric society feeds you, you've made it. You make twice what your parents ever did. And yet you are lying awake at 2 a.m. staring at your banking app, sweating bullets because you are literally one transmission failure away from total financial ruin. You're not going on exotic vacations, you're not buying luxury watches, you are out here grinding 50 hours a week just to afford the privilege of feeling completely suffocated. You are playing the game exactly like you were taught, but somehow you are getting absolutely cooked. Today, we are taking a forensic sledgehammer to the modern American dream. I am going to show you the brutal, undeniable math, proving why striving for a normal life in 2026 is a mathematical death sentence. My name is Clark, and welcome to Brutal Calculus. We don't do hype, we don't do manifesting, and we definitely don't pitch you BS stock tips. We do the math. If you are tired of gurus gaslighting you about why you're broke, and you actually want to delete your broke operating system to see how the financial machine is actively extracting your wealth, hit subscribe and like this video. Let's get to work. Here is the brutal truth that your real estate agent, your loan officer, and your parents absolutely refuse to admit. Right now, 67% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And before you assume that's just minimum wage workers, think again. That statistic includes retail bros, engineers, and mid-level managers pulling in six figures. You aren't failing. The math is failing you. Society has sold you a marketing category called normal, and it was designed entirely to drain your net worth. Back in 2003, a Harvard bankruptcy law professor named Elizabeth Warren ran the numbers on over 2,000 families who went completely bankrupt. What she found destroyed the boomer narrative that young people are just lazy and spend too much on avocado toast. Adjusted for inflation, modern families were actually spending less on clothing, less on food, and less on appliances than families in the 1970s. They were more frugal. But here is the catch. A single-earner family in the 1970s spent about 54% of their money on fixed costs, leaving them with thousands in discretionary income. Fast forward to the modern dual-income family. They bring home 75% more money, but after paying for inflated mortgages, 2 cars, and daycare, they actually end up with less discretionary cash than the single-income family from 30 years ago. You are working twice as hard, bringing in 2 massive paychecks, and ending up statistically broker. Let's look at the systemic and psychological traps that are actively incinerating your net worth. Step 1 is the hedonic treadmill colliding with the modern housing market. Your brain is wired with present bias. It tricks you into constantly upgrading your baseline. As soon as you and your partner bring home more bacon, your expectations immediately inflate to match it. You lock in to keeping up with the Joneses, meaning every extra dollar is instantly swallowed by lifestyle creep. But in 2026, it's worse. It's an all-out arms race. In 1970, the national home price to income ratio was roughly 2.6. You could buy a house for 2.5 years of household income. Today, that ratio has spiked to 7.0, and in major cities, it's pushing past 10. Because everyone started showing up to open houses with 2 incomes. 2 incomes became the minimum bid just to play the game. You aren't buying an asset anymore. You are buying a 30-year financial prison sentence with granite countertops. To understand how you're getting scammed by the system, we need to do the math on a composite couple. Meet Sarah and Mike. They have a combined household income of $143,000. Sarah pulls in $68,000 working in marketing, and Mike makes $75,000 in IT. They did the normal thing. They bought the $485,000 house in the good school district. They have 2 young kids. They financed 2 perfectly average cars. On paper, they're crushing it. They're upper middle class. But in reality, they're completely exhausted, stressed out of their minds, and have exactly $0 left at the end of the month. Why? Because fixed costs don't just add up, they multiply. When you add their $3,180 mortgage, $850 in out-of-pocket health care, $680 for 2 car payments, $245 for auto insurance, $320 for gas, $950 for groceries, and student loans, they're dropping nearly $8,000 a month just to keep the lights on and the cars running. Out of an $8,900 take-home pay, they have less than $1,000 left for everything else in life. But let's isolate Sarah's income, because this is where the two-income trap becomes mathematically violent. Let's run the actual numbers on what happens to Sarah's $68,000 salary after it runs the gauntlet. First, the IRS shows up. Federal taxes, state taxes, and FICA instantly vaporize about $17,182. Sarah's $68,000 is now $50,818. Next, childcare. Center-based care for 2 toddlers in their area costs $28,800 a year. Subtract that from her take-home, and Sarah is down to $22,018 for the entire year. Then comes the commute. She drives 35 minutes each way. Factoring in gas, depreciation, and maintenance on her car, her commute costs her roughly $6,480 annually. We are now down to $15,538. And finally, we hit the behavioral psychology trap, what financial planners call the exhaustion tax. Sarah and Mike are working 45 hours a week, sitting in traffic, managing a household, and they are dead on their feet. They have zero energy left to cook or clean. So they hemorrhage cash on convenience. They hit up DoorDash 3 times a week at $65 a pop. That's $10,140 a year. They hire a bi-weekly cleaning service because they're too drained to scrub floors on a Sunday. That's $4,200. They buy the pre-chopped, pre-made meals at Whole Foods just to survive the week, adding a $2,000 premium to their grocery bill. Let's do the final brutal calculation. DoorDash, $10,140. Cleaners, $4,200. Convenience food, $2,000. That is $16,340 in pure exhaustion spending. Sarah started with a $68,000 salary. After $17,000 in taxes, $28,000 in childcare, $6,000 to commute, and $16,000 in exhaustion spending, Sarah's $68,000 salary literally nets a return of negative $82. Let that sink in. She is grinding 40 hours a week, dealing with a boss, dealing with traffic, and missing her kids' childhoods, and it is literally costing her household money to do it. Even if you cut the exhaustion spending in half, she's clearing maybe $3.75 an hour. She would mathematically bring home more wealth working part-time on the weekends at a grocery store. This is the two-income trap in its purest, most clinical form. You are not building wealth. You are running on a treadmill that is actively on fire, and you are voluntarily paying the system for the privilege. So how do you stop getting played? How do you delete this broken script? The ultimate lever requires you to crush your ego and completely reject societal gaslighting. You have to stop playing the arms race. You have to realize that having 2 incomes, completely leveraged to pay your fixed costs, doesn't make you secure. It makes you wildly fragile. If one of you gets laid off, the entire house of cards collapses in 60 days because both checks are required just to survive. The cure is what I call the shadow household strategy. You must structure all of your essential survival costs, your housing, your basic food, your transportation, around one single income. Look at another couple, the Chens. They make the exact same $143,000, but they bought a $280,000 house a little further out, in a school district rated 7 out of 10 instead of 9 out of 10. They drive paid-off 2012 Hondas. Their entire fixed overhead is covered entirely by one partner's $82,000 salary. The second income, the $61,000, it never even touches their checking account. It is treated as 100% completely disposable. They route it directly into acquiring appreciating assets and building a bulletproof cash buffer to protect against the unexpected. They use that capital to buy back their time, effectively opting out of the rat race. In 6 years, they built a $340,000 net worth. If one of them loses their job tomorrow, they don't panic. They have options. Sarah and Mike have obligations. You have to accept that opting out of average means looking less successful than your broke friends. You will drive the older car. You will live in the smaller house. You will skip the aesthetic vacation everyone is flexing on Instagram. You get to choose your heart. It is hard to drive a beater car while your coworkers finance new trucks. But it is also incredibly hard to be 60 years old with zero net worth because you spent 4 decades maintaining appearances. The version of hard you choose determines whether you build permanent freedom or just service debt for the rest of your life. The system is not broken, it is functioning exactly as it was designed, to keep you running on the hedonic treadmill, extracting your labor and transferring your wealth to the banks, the dealerships, and the real estate industry. The math doesn't care about your ego, and it definitely doesn't care about your Instagram aesthetic. So make the choice. You can keep playing a rigged game, trying to earn your way out of a trap that scales with your income, or you can upgrade your mental RAM, crush your lifestyle inflation, and buy back your actual freedom. The choice is yours.